Hello, this is Erin with the Joy in Pens and Paper. And right off the bat, I'm just going to say I caught COVID while I was traveling, so my voice is a little stuffy. Apologies in advance. I am going to do a memory keeping / journaling for the um, June 23rd, which was a Sunday, and June 24th, which was a Monday. And those days we were in Athens. Both days were incredibly busy. So you see me cutting out the pictures right here that I printed with a Kodak Step photo printer, which prints them on sticker paper. And I'm organizing them by day, and then I will organize them by how I want them to appear on the page. On Sunday, June 23rd, I had a pre-purchased city pass for Athens that gave us access to transportation as well as admission to the Acropolis, Parthenon, and a number of other museums and historical sites across the city of Athens. What we learned on Sunday is that the transportation piece of it was actually not going to be valid because we needed to pick up a physical transportation pass, which we couldn't do until Monday at 9, and we had our Acropolis appointment Monday at 10. And so there wasn't going to be enough time to walk to the transportation place, get the passes, and then get over to the Acropolis, which was really frustrating. So I've actually requested a partial refund to that pass, and kind of pointed out that they should give a little bit more information in their posting. But we started our day off by getting a coffee at the coffee shop across the street. My husband and I each got a Freddo cappuccino, which was an iced cappuccino. And then we walked to the metro, which is where we found out that we weren't going to be able to use the transportation pass. And then we ended up walking back to the hotel, getting a map of the city, and then taking a taxi to the square that was by the Greek Parliament building. When we got to the Greek Parliament building, it was a little bit before they were going to do a changing of the guards, and there was a group of people that were gathered to observe that changing of the guards. We weren't necessarily interested in standing around and waiting. It was already quite hot, and we were hoping to get into the National Gardens and do a walk around that. So we were there for maybe 3 minutes, and as we walked around the block to go to the National Gardens entrance, we ended up walking right past a kind of military person and a couple of the guards that were going to be changing out. So that was kind of cool that we got to see them walk by. We then did a walk around the gardens, and we saw obviously really amazing plants, trees, flowers, etc. We also saw some birds that we don't typically see, kind of like a green parakeet type of bird. And then we also saw a turtle, which my son loves turtles, so that was really nice. But we walked all around the gardens, and when we exited the gardens, we were right near Zapion and the Temple of Zeus, and Hadrian's Arch. So we went to Temple of Zeus first, and a lot of it was held up by the structural, what's it called, scaffolding. So they're trying to preserve it as much as possible, but then around the periphery of the area, they had all the pieces that had broken off just kind of set out, not necessarily labeled, but set out, which was kind of interesting. Here you see me using a Lamy 2000 to write some headers, and I start off by writing "but first coffee" because obviously that's the first thing that we did. And then I checked the pen and ink colors and selected the Novelar Tromso, which has this really lovely light blue-ish purple color ink in it. Um, this is Robert Oster, Summer Storm. Yes. So I wrote some notes about what we did. After, and in a little bit, I then pick back up the Lamy 2000 and write the names of the places or the major places that we went to, which, like I said, includes the Greek Parliament, National Garden, Zapion, Temple of Zeus, Hadrian's Arch. We had lunch at this restaurant called Athena, which was in Plaka. Plaka is one of the neighborhoods in Athens that is near the entrance to the Acropolis and Parthenon. When we crossed the street from Hadrian's Arch to Plaka, we immediately saw this vendor that for £2.50 we were able to get this little package of flavored covered nuts, and they were flavored with some sweet flavors and kind of candy-ish coverings with sprinkled sesame seeds on them, and they were delicious. I had watched another YouTuber that went to Greece, who works on cruise ships, and went to Greece and had picked up these street vendor nuts. And so the moment I saw it, I thought, oh gosh, I want that. I didn't have a 50-cent piece, so we ended up rounding up and, told the guy keep the change and paid him £3. So he generously offered us more to refill our little baggy container. So that was really awesome. And it kind of tided myself over hunger-wise as we walked around Plaka a little bit and just put eyes on the shops and things like that. We did find a sticker for Charlie Murphy was here, and if you are in your 40s and you remember the Dave Chappelle show, it was a throwback to that. It was the picture on it was Dave Chappelle's head as the Charlie Murphy character, so we took a picture of that as well. And we eventually sat down at Athena to have lunch. I got a glass of Prosecco, and we got some feta drizzled in oil, as well as a Greek salad. My son got some French fries. He was a little overheated and not necessarily feeling wonderful, so he didn't want to order really anything more than French fries, but he ate them all, and he really liked them, which was good. And then after lunch, we just did a little bit more walking around Plaka, but eventually, or in essence, ended up navigating our way back to the hotel. And on our way back to the hotel, we stumbled across some other historical sites that we were hoping to see the next day, such as Hadrian's Library and the Roman Agora. We went through Blocksoy Square, and as we were walking up this main street that was going to take us over to, I think it's called Ammonia Square, which was just a few blocks away from our hotel, we found a boba shop, so my son and I got some boba. And then we got back to the hotel. We went up into the pool on the rooftop just to cool off because it was a very hot day. And we ordered some beverages from the bar that was right there and did some swimming. And then we got ready to go on a food tour. So this was one of the other things that we pre-booked ahead of time. It was about $300, just under $300 for the three of us to do a food tour that had 5 stops to it and had wine tasting and things like that. So the food tour, the first stop, we went and we had some Greek pies, and we had a savory, a sweet pie, and a meat pie. So the savory was spinach and feta. The sweet was kind of like a cream filled, almost like a Boston cream type of cream fill. And then it was a chicken pie. Those were delicious. I did take a gluten-ease ahead of time in preparation for this because I really wanted to try all the things. Then we went to a stop where we had some meats, cheeses, and wine. And then we went to a stop where we had some gyro. And then we went to a fancy place called Ella. that we had very traditional Greek meals, including some fava beans and some goat and orzo items. And then we ended at a place where we had some baklava. So I had my first experience with Greek baklava. The next day, and I'm setting up the pictures for that. On that Sunday, we did end up taking a taxi back to our hotel, which was around $15 or €15, I should say. The taxi in was €10. The taxi back was €15. And it was 9:45 at night, so I just wasn't as comfortable walking a mile home in a city that I didn't really know very well. So that's why we took a taxi back to our hotel. So the next day was our Acropolis day, and that was a really big deal for my husband as a history teacher. You could just see in him this feeling of surrealness of, wow, I'm here, I'm experiencing this, I'm seeing this in person. He did a lot of picture taking of himself next to some of the pictures or artifacts that he has shown his students, and I felt the joy for him in that choice. So we did end up sleeping in a little bit later than what we expected, and I will point out our hotel breakfast was absolutely phenomenal. Greek yogurt in Greece is so creamy and yummy, and they had a honeycomb there where you could literally scrape the honeycomb down and the honey dripped down into a jar. So it was really fresh honey. They had this really fancy coffee maker, which was really nice. But yeah, so we woke up in time to have breakfast and then walk over to the Acropolis, which was about a mile walk. And we went, in essence, the direction that we had gone the afternoon before. So after the Acropolis, we just did a little bit of walking around. We saw things like the Temple of Athena, the Temple of Nike. We also did check out Hadrian's Library and the Roman Agora. One of the other frustrating things with the City Pass that I had pre-purchased is that it had listed my son as a citizen of Europe. And so when I went to scan our passes, the people would ask where we were from. I would say United States, and then I'd have to pay extra for my son because the website had put, as I said, the website had put him in as a citizen of Europe, which as a 12-year-old would give him free access to any historical sites or museums, but he is not a European citizen, so we had to pay additional couple of euros. It was about €3 or €4 per historical site that we had to pay in addition. So I have contacted the company because that is all unexpected, and I would not encourage anyone to book this City Pass as I did given my experience. Here I'm just pre-layering some photos the way I want them before I'm laying them down on the page. That way I cover up what I'm okay covering up, but leaving visible what I want to leave visible. And I'm just noting, I had waited to write the word museum until I knew how much space those pictures were going to take up. So then I finished writing that header with my Lamy 2000. And as you may have noticed, if I'm putting these headers on the right side of the page, I actually write the word backwards so that the spacing works out well. The challenge with that is that occasionally, and I think you're going to see it right here, I spell things wrong because I'm trying to recall it or read it backwards, and I'm an imperfect person. So you'll see me grab some whiteout to fix Bloxoy Square because I absolutely butchered the spelling of that. And in a few more minutes, I also put the wrong vowel at the end of the word for boba because my mind just got it mixed up. So after, as I said, after the Acropolis and Hadrian's Library and the Roman Agora, we grabbed lunch at Bloxoy Square, which is close to the meeting point for the food tour, and we had walked under this breezeway area with all these twinkle lights up ahead and hanging florals, and it just was really pretty ambiance. So we ended up going back there for lunch, and again, we got a Greek salad. We're very basic, one in Greece. We're gonna eat the Greek food. So we got ourselves a Greek salad there. We also got another boba on our way back to the hotel, where we had another late afternoon swim in the rooftop pool, and we each got another beverage to enjoy while in the pool. So then our next trip was to the National Archaeological Museum. So that was in a completely different direction than Acropolis and Hadrian's Library and the Roman Agora. So that's why we had a little break in our hotel before going back out. Plus, it was open till 8 p.m. So we went there at about 5 p.m., did a quick walk around that. I will say at that point, my son was pretty done. So we found out a few weeks before this trip that he has, oh my gosh, tarsal coalition. So some of the bones on his foot are fused, and with a recent growth spurt that he had this year, it has resulted in him experiencing discomfort with something as basic as walking. So because of the amount of walking that we did on Monday, his foot was very sore, so he found any place he could to sit. But after the museum, we walked back towards our hotel, and we wanted to find a place to eat closer to that. We were thinking about going to Alexander the Great again, just because that was a good experience. But there was a restaurant right next door called Moroni, and I will tell you that was our favorite restaurant of the entire trip. So we ordered a fried feta, which is a block of feta fried in phyllo dough, drizzled with honey and sprinkled with sesame seeds. And that was just delicious. Oh my gosh, it was so good. And then we also, I think, got some kind of a fish meal, I think, or maybe it was chicken. Anyway, we got a meal to go along with it. For some reason at that restaurant, the servers were exceptionally attentive towards us. They brought us a complimentary liqueur shot at the end of the meal, as well as complimentary panna cotta for all three of us. And it was just delicious. I don't know why we got that special treatment, but I am very appreciative. And that was an experience that we kept thinking about as the trip went on. And we found ourselves very thankful that we stumbled across that restaurant. Since coming home, I talked with a neighbor of mine, and she was sharing with me that her husband's favorite restaurant is In's Go. And so we were just bonding or having a connection moment over the fact that sometimes we have these experiences and our favorites become places that we realistically might never get to again. So that will be Moroni for us. After Moroni, we went to the hotel room and just started packing up and decompressing, because tomorrow, on Tuesday, we are going to be getting on to our cruise. Our hotel checkout time is at noon, so we can sleep in, we can relax, but we will be going right from the hotel to Piraeus, the port where our ship will be picking us up at. And we were very tired from a very long day and ready to start that next chapter. So in the next video, you will hear about our onboarding of the ship, our first night on the ship, as well as our first full day on the cruise and the stop that we had. I appreciate you watching, and please subscribe if you have not yet.